later, so
Okay.
we'll see.
She might
If she
be.
does join in person, she'll pop right.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I can, if we're ready to go, I can get us kicked off, get through a few housekeeping items, but everyone online hearing us okay? Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Well, yeah, thanks for taking some time to connect with us and having Paul and I on site. I'll dive into like intros and agenda in a minute here, but just one housekeeping item. I'm sure you've seen this 1,000 times.
I tattooed,
Yeah, I hate it. Well, yeah, did we want to record this?
Yeah,
that's.
Stacy, well done. I know you've been in touch.
Yes.
Yeah, our safe harbor statement, it wouldn't be a Workday presentation without this, but a lot of the stuff we're talking about is already current function. So almost all of it. This is more for the section that our workmate Bill Hare, he's going to be doing. It's just some future state stuff, so just keep in mind, stuff, please make purchasing decisions based upon services, features, and functions today.
I know who to ask for one.
Yeah, you got the
Well connected,
right? Yeah, just before diving in, we thought it'd be helpful to do some introduction. So I'm gonna introduce the Workday account team.
Cool.
And then from there, we'd love, for the Rogers team to do introductions, just to be helpful to kind of understand the role. I'll start us off. My name is Peter Wilson. I know I've met, all of you virtually, and there might be a few people online that I maybe haven't met, but I'll be your account executive for Rogers. So I'll be your primary point of contact. So what that means, like really my goal is to be aligned with your goals and your strategic initiatives. Make sure that we can align a Workday solution to those initiatives, whether that's something that's already part of your current agreement or expanding upon other services and solutions that we offer. Just really make sure that you're maximizing your investment with us. So just kind of think anything contract related. If you have questions about what's in your agreement, want to talk about, like renewal or again, adding solutions, I'll be kind of your data on there. So, I'm joined today by my boss, Paul Tharp. Paul's been with Workday for quite a few years, great resource. He often joins me on these executive type groupings, these strategic conversations. And of course, if there's anything that, the account team isn't giving you, just tap Paul on the shoulder. He'll just line.
I'll give a little intro as well.
Yeah.
We get into my section.
Yeah, and just kind of from an agenda perspective, I'll kind of this at the same time. Apologies, I did make a last minute switch, just kind of the order of a couple of the things. We're still planning on covering the same content and timing. Just so we have a few people that have a hard stop and want to make sure that we can excuse your time. Paul will be kind of talking about what Workday is and the state of healthcare right now. I'm joined by Bill Hare. He's our director of product strategy and healthcare. He'll be providing a roadmap overview of healthcare update. Mark Butler as well. He's our financials and healthcare strategist. I partner closely with him, our customers in the Midwest, so he might chime in time to time on some of our financial solutions. And then Lauren McCree, she's our healthcare solution consultant. After Bill's roadmap session, kind of the back half of that, she'll be doing a high level demo overview of analytics and kind of some of the reporting stuff that we thought might be helpful for you all to see. And then Kelly Samansky, once we get through that, we'll transition to Workday support. Kelly Samansky, she's one of our healthcare customer success managers supporting our team model, which you all are a part of today. And she'll talk about the support there, what you currently have to make sure that you're able to utilize all the tools and resources under your current agreement, and then just kind of expand upon how it differs from our paid support Workday success plans, which you all are considering. And then lastly, joined by Mike Dreyer. I think you all have had a chance to meet him. He's kind of my right-hand man. When you're evaluating solutions, you can kind of think of it as an extension of helping out with any follow-up items. And then once we get through that, we'll maybe rolling into lunch around, I think around 11:30, open it up for like any Q&A, next steps. So that's what we got planned. That's who's all joining today. Does that meet everyone's expectations from, okay, sweet.
You want to introduce the team?
Yeah, absolutely. And Roger's team, I don't know if we want to start off in the room here, with introductions and then pass over to the virtual attendees.
Sure.
Stacy Bobble, CHRO.
Whitney Abel, VP of Finance and Operations.
Chris Jaggets, I'm the CFO. I've been with Rogers about a little over a year now. I kind of inherited this project when I came on. The folks, both the lead folks, that kind of started the contract process and the implementation process, one left right before I got here and one left right after I got here. So I kind of picked up the torch when I got here, and we made some scope changes as best we could. And then, with, Trisha's help, who she'll introduce herself here shortly. Everybody else, we were able to get this thing implemented. Went live on January 1st.
Awesome. Great. I'll just go down the list here I'm looking at, in the teams. Adam, do you want to go ahead with an introduction?
Sure. My name is Adam Wally. I'm the VP of Technology for Rogers. This will 2 weeks shy of completing my 9th year here, and spent last 15 years implementing technology in a variety of healthcare settings.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Trisha?
Oh, my next. Okay, hi. So Chris briefly mentioned me. I'm a Workday program manager, independent. I've been implementing Workday as a program manager for 14 years now. Prior to independent, I worked for Deloitte, but really excited to get this over the finish line, and we're kind of ironing out some of the wrinkles through stabilization now, and then obviously looking forward to the roadmap and then our phase 2 coming up here very soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Trisha. Ken?
You're muted, Ken.
I'm on mute. Sorry, everyone. My name is Ken Litt. I'm the manager of business applications. I work as the liaison across our functional teams to make sure everyone is implementing the most optimal technology to fit their business processes, as well as acting as security liaison for all changes within the system.
Awesome. Thanks, Ken. And then I believe Tracy.
Good morning, everyone. Tracy Reich-Smith. I'm part of the HR team and really here to support the people and their experiences at Rogers. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Did I miss anyone? Make sure you did. From what I can tell, that was everyone, but please let me know. All right. Well, before we do jump in, I did just want to take a minute to share this. I know Chris, Adam, Ken has seen this before, but this is essentially Rogers' footprint with Workday. So for everyone that hasn't seen this, everything in green is what Rogers owns and has deployed today. Everything in orange is what you purchased but is not implemented. Obviously, we're kind of working through like the talent optimization and learning. So looking forward to you all, being able to start that project and seeing value there. Everything in blue is what's not in subscription, and then the items in orange are things of either discussion or being considered. I'm sorry, purple. Things in purple are things that are being considered. Maybe want to be considered. So as far as like the roadmap items, we're going to touch more broadly on like the items in orange. I know there were some questions last time we chatted with Chris about like health insurance and things like that. So I think we can definitely get some quick wins around like messaging, WSP, and talk about some of that. But any questions on this slide here today from anyone?
Sure. Yep.
Awesome. All right, well, yeah, again, thanks again for leaning in with us. Really, the goal of today is to make sure that we're understanding your strategic initiatives, as you're considering what you're doing, financials and HR culture. Obviously, a big part of that is, what you're doing in the IT space. We don't want to forget about that. It seems like we all have a pretty good pulse on that, so I want to learn about that today. and really understand where we can help you to leverage and optimize what you currently own and possibly expand what we can help you to solve for. So with that, we did want to open it up to your team. I know we kind of had some broad discussions in the beginning, but just kind of get your general pulse on where things stand today, kind of where you're looking to go in the next 12 to 24 months. And maybe what that looks like on from an IT or technology roadmap perspective. So
And maybe from an overall, just kind of strategic.
yeah,
Perspective. It always helps us to kind of get that as a framework to make sure we're in alignment with where you're going.
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of start, and then I'm sure Adam will take it in the details, but, you know, from an EHR standpoint, you know, our biggest priority right now is the Cornerstone contract that's that terminates like 12/1 or 12/31, sometime during December. And because that currently holds all of our talent learning right now. So, getting that replaced with the Workday talent learning modules, as well as those other two, there's bandwidth at scope. So those are really that's our biggest priority right now for the EHR side. Rogers overall is doing really well. We're getting ready to open 2 new clinics in the near future, right?
Different size and scope, but
Yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah,
both
two
in
new
the Wisconsin
locations.
area.
Yeah, and really looking, I'm looking to engage a an external M&A partner. We're got plenty of resources to do acquisitions. So Rogers is really kind of in a growth mode right now. So it's a really exciting time to be part of the Rogers team through that. So that's kind of the business side. I mean, everything's doing well. We're doing so well. We're giving up some admin area here. The construction was here as well. We're giving up admin area to expand patient area on the other side. That's a eating disorder program. It's going in right there. Expansion. So that's super exciting. But before Adam gets into the details on IT, I will just say one thing. That, my understanding is, before I got here, is that Rogers, really has been in a mode of change, constant change. Selecting and deselecting, selecting new IT solutions over and over and over again. It's really never kind of found stability, and certainly never got into optimization. So that is another core priority to me, is to get these things in the back half of Workday implemented, the last few things, and really kind of move towards that area of stability, that phase of stability, and God willing, get the optimization where everybody's really comfortable, and we can really start seeing some good setup. That's my 2 cents.
That's great. That's good. I mean, all those are great. Great to hear that you're on the upward trajectory, which, we'll get into a little bit of kind of our.
No, yeah, healthcare's struggling right now, but we're doing really well. So
yeah, and I'll give you kind of some perspective, like, from our mid-market share, kind of where things are going really well, and some areas where maybe stalled out a little bit. That's great to get that perspective on the growth, and certainly talking about, stabilizing what you got and getting the rest of it installed and optimizing. That's a focus we have, that we'll kind of touch base on some ways to do that today. Those are all very helpful. Awesome. So is there that we want to have the just?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's, there's no. This isn't. I don't really go for structured meetings. I mean, people that have opinions need to jump in.
we want to open this up to
Absolutely.
the team. So.
Yeah.
Is the ask to provide a just general technology roadmap right now? Is that?
I would just say just high level, any, particular, key.
Yeah, I mean,
initiatives.
I could probably, about, maybe to add some color to the history, is probably about 9 years ago when I came to Rogers, they had servers in a basement that was flooding. They were buying computers at Best Buy, and there was no real systems in place. On one hand, it was well behind what I had seen in kind of the billion-dollar health systems, right? On the other hand, gave an opportunity to jump right into building a modern infrastructure instead of worrying about carrying the old way of doing things that a lot of healthcare systems did in, the 90s and 2000s, building their old data centers. So first thing we did was kind of stabilize the infrastructure to move it, outsource it to co-location, and then migrate to the cloud. Other things, as the company grew, they looked to implement large systems to help have control, understanding, intelligence as the company grew from 2 hospitals and 5 clinics to 23 locations across the country. The main priority really at that time was an EHR, getting a centralized electronic health record in place, as our primary goal is treating our patients. Lifting into electronic health records are probably the most difficult of the technologies I've ever implemented. There's so many regulations, so many unique workflows, so many different things going on in a health system, right? And so it was pretty impressive actually that an organization really with very rudimentary computer understanding was able to implement that. Now, as you go through that journey, it's an evolution. And, as the organization gets more and more understanding and puts more emphasis on the strategic benefit of technology, you can really draw focus to improving those. And so we were the first independent, really behavioral health system to go with, one of the top 3 EHRs. And as we built that modern infrastructure, we looked to buy the best in class technologies and continue to do so. The one thing that remains a concern to me, which I've seen healthcare do, is they cobble together hundreds of different technologies through integrations, and they really provide disparate workflows. My overall goal is to provide like a human-centered digital journey that is unified and seamless for both our patients and our employees. In order to do this, I realize that there is no one system that will provide that. And so can we get down to a few core systems, cloud-based systems, integrate cloud to cloud using modern APIs and the modern infrastructure that will hold us into the future and be more agile, scalable, allow us to pivot at relatively lower cost and provide high availability and high quality products. So this evolution is, it would be nice to say there would be an end in sight, but there are many factors that play into it.
Yeah, Adam, if I can jump in for 1 second, one thing to mention real quick is that, we're a behavioral healthcare company, which is a very, very small piece of overall healthcare. And there is not a EHR solution, gold standard solution for behavioral healthcare for electronic medical record. There's just not. And so we've taken one of the good ones, Cerner, but we've had to customize it to work for the way because behavioral health works completely differently from med-surg or anything else in healthcare, right? So that is one, it's not a barrier, but it's a challenge. And to that challenge, I just want to point out a pain point for us right now is getting Cerner to talk to and basically pull over net revenue in a meaningful way right now. It's basically, we've had to destroy the integration. It's a manual process right now. That's a really big pain point. And it's not Workday's fault. I think it's more on Cerner's end, but right now that's a pain point that we're having to devote a lot of resources to. That's a temporary one time.
Okay. My understanding, right? That's where like the financials, the visibility, that's where you're.
That's just on the net revenue side because the EHR drives the services, which is the revenue drive. Rev cycle lives in Cerner.
Yeah.
But then on a GL level, then we got to bring it over to Workday to match it.
It's a great point. We'll touch base on it today, but we can certainly dig into the detail. We may have something. It's a big focal point for us as a business with our accounting center. I don't know if you've heard of that yet or not, but certainly one with healthcare driving to exactly where the frustration you're talking about. So we'll touch on that today. I think Mark will touch base on it. Bill may as well, but certainly one where we could dive in deeper to see if it's a possible solution.
Great, yeah, I'd love to hear anything, any ideas you have. Sorry to cut you off.
No, those are.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's no special, EHRs for behavioral health weren't a focus because the industry was supported in the 2000 through government incentives to focus on converting acute care hospitals to meaningful use. And so what you have in that industry is either you go with a big box player that you get large infrastructure with, you get electronic ordering, you get, portals, you get connections to payers, you get all that, right? But you have to customize your content, or you go with a really low grade EHR that doesn't really support many of your workflows and you have to cobble together many systems, right? And so, I mean, I don't know if fault is the word I would use. There are configurations and designs that producing outcomes that now with changes in direction might need to be reconsidered and take some time to rework. So now, this I think has come to light. I do, so far, at Rogers, in my experience, they have not been able to stabilize with an ERP system. That every 2 years since I've been here, we try to switch an ERP system and we are unable to get it to thrive. Now, you might have challenges with the EHR, but the EHR is operational, is being used, it's tracking quality. What I'm hoping for really is to understand how to get through this stabilization, how to redesign any of these things that we see as faults or problems now with the direction before we start diving deep into expanding this scope. Making sure that our development teams in this new structure have the ability to support that sustainably and reasonably into the future, that we can run general business operations before we try to do fancy things. Like merit increases should go in on time and be planned. Compensation changes need to be executed as when the CEO needs it to be executed within a week, the team should be able to do that, to have that level of performance before we start really reaching out and not ensuring that our foundation is in place. That has largely been the contributor to the, need to switch systems, because the inability to effectively make sustainable changes has resulted in weird band-aids, workarounds that effectively cripple those systems. And so I'm hoping with this Workday effort, we are really taking a different perspective than we have in the past, and we maintain focus on the area that has been for the past 10 years a struggle for Rogers to implement, while we work to have the other ancillary systems kind of be converted or changed to the new direction of how the business might want to operate.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to reaffirm that's my objective as well, Adam, as long as I'm sitting in my seat.
I'll build on that a little bit because some of what Adam said is applicable to HR. So our focus really is to stabilize. However, we have a lot of manual workarounds that in other places I've had tech solutions for. And some of it is just basic building blocks of HR, like electronic personnel files, right? So there are some gaps that we need to fill, but I first want to stabilize what we have, look for some efficiencies, refine what's out there before we determine sort of next.
Yeah.
Like this is what we want to do. I want to go about it in a measured way.
Now those are all great points, and why you invested and worked it, right?
Right, right.
To do away with those manual processes, especially if you're in an upward growth mode, you want to be able to support it, streamlined processes. And we're going to cover off on some of that today. Bill does a great job, especially on the HR side, talking through some of those things you are invested in that I think you're pretty excited about what that's going to do to improve some of those processes. So all great points that certainly one where Adam, we want you to be solidified so it's not a revolving door of ERPs moving forward. So we know you've invested well with Workday, and we'll hopefully get you an excitement level to be executing on that stabilization.
I mean, there's no
Yeah.
doubt that you have the best technology out there right now, and this object-oriented database introduces a whole bunch of new possibilities into the kind of the future of technology. Just that, what I'm concerned sometimes if you put someone doing manual processes behind the captain's seat of a spaceship, you might have problems without supporting that person and making sure we know how to operate this technology will allow us to really leverage the returns, the efficiencies, and it be an enabler to our people instead of an administrative burden.
Yeah, and I have one more point of context that I want to make sure that bring our partners up to speed on, is that, we went live on January 1st and it was a long process, as you know. Our partner in that was KPMG, and they were a very weak partner. So a fear that I have that hopefully can be dispelled fairly quickly with y'all's help is that we didn't get the best setup to match. And I think maybe a lot of Stacy's problems where she's saying she has manual stuff, because I know Workday does this, but my fear is that we didn't get the best setup, because you can configure Workday a billion different ways. And we had a very weak partner with KPMG who was not helpful. That relationship has come and gone, but now I want to I really almost want a second opinion on our setup to make sure to see our workflows and say, hey, no, Workday, you should have set up like this, and we can fix that really easily, or maybe hopefully it's that easy, but that's a point of context I want to make sure of.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I know we touched base on that. Certainly, there's some ways I think we can help you. Tackle and get confident with what that foundational component that's hard to move forward if you don't feel good about how you're set up. So well, good, all great points, and I think aligning well with what we're going to get through today. If there's anything else, maybe we'll go to the next section.
Yeah, I think this is stuff we kind of. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I probably should have started with this. I pulled a couple of slides together. It sounds like, for the most part, a lot of this is covered, but when we look at our, overarching strategic goals within Rogers, there's a couple areas. So these are our top 4, but there's a couple that are directly impacted by Workday. One being talent, obviously always attracting and retaining top talent, but you'll see specifically there's some tactical or more specific examples of our goals here, what we're trying to achieve. And this is what we'll be looking at specifically with the SOW, ensuring that we're going to reach these KPIs and goals with our talent SKU, if you will. So I probably should have started with this, but ultimately our overarching strategic goals include talent as well as this transformation. Adam did speak to it a little more in detail, but we feel that at least 2 of these areas certainly can be accomplished with, obviously, Workday.
Right.
Thanks, Trisha.
Yeah, that's good. We'd love to maybe grab that, afterwards. It'll keep it forefront for us.
For sure.
Yeah, it's great. All right. Yeah, so Bill's going to cover the roadmap. A lot of exciting things, I think, again, that are really well with where you're trying to go, near term with these strategic goals. I thought I would just maybe give at a very high level kind of the Workday and most importantly Workday in healthcare, just to kind of give you a little bit of a perspective on where we are. And I know Adam alluded, we are, I think the good news is you should feel good that you're aligned to a strong horse in the ERP market, the strongest horse with our cloud-based solution set that, we'll talk about it from a strategic standpoint, but certainly customers, as you explained, you want to, especially from an IT perspective, be aligned with somebody that you can maximize that footprint with that single platform. And we're really moving towards that where, it makes strategic sense. From a Workday standpoint, again, the company is doing very well from a strength standpoint. We just had our sales kickoff for a year. Our fiscal year ended the end of March, end of January, and so we just kicked off our year. Recently we're almost 19,000 employees now. Rapid expansion, not only in North America but internationally. So that's just been a great expansion, and that's across the board. Really, the amount of folks that we have in our development arenas, product support arenas, things like that to support what is now over 5,400 core customers globally. So those are customers that have our foundational products of HR, financials. So that's grown significantly and really representative of, we'll talk about the markets, particularly for healthcare, but from a Fortune 500 standpoint, Fortune 100, Fortune 50 standpoint, we have a strong 50 to 70% penetration in all of those different segmentations. So it should be a product you feel good about from a standpoint of that stability and security. We maintain a 95% satisfaction rate across the business. And from a deployment standpoint, it's very consistent. We certainly rely on partners, but we also do it ourselves. But we tend to stay at about of our entire customer base, 70% of those live. So as we're adding folks, we're bringing them live on a very methodical and predictable pace. So that's all good, and that goes across the board to financial or to healthcare as well. So maybe this next slide. But from a healthcare standpoint, again, a really strong area. We verticalized 7 years ago business, and it was actually first verticalization that we've now gone into some other areas of verticalizing, where it's what we say, from a services development, support, sales, all within health. That's all within healthcare. So that's a vertical that stands on its own from all those pillars.
Hey,
Now
Paul.
we're 445 customers as we ended the last fiscal year.
Someone chime in. Was that Bill?
Yeah, just make sure you're sharing your screen. I'm not seeing it, so I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
Yeah,
Sorry,
well,
guys.
I'm not sure if others are experiencing that.
How about now?
We can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can see it.
Thank you.
Oh,
Sorry about
so that's
that.
gonna make a lot more sense now. Thank you for chiming in, Bill. But yeah, we have 445 customers within our healthcare vertical. Those that we can consider that are providing a level of providing care. We did some rationalization this year where we kind of pulled a few out that were probably not true healthcare organizations, but that's just grown significantly. We had 50% year-over-year growth this last year in healthcare, which was, I think, the fastest growing of any of our segments. So one of the great things, again, we started 7 years ago. We really moved into a net new and a customer base about 5 years ago, which has been great. Our goal is really to support you as a customer, and we found that having a customer base focus is the way to do that. As Peter alluded to earlier, that's our job. We represent the overall strategic and business relationship for you. Just a step back. I didn't get into it before, but I have responsibility for managing the eastern half of the United States for our mid-market in healthcare. So Peter's part of my team. We have roughly 6 other folks. Mark Butler is our FINS expert who talk about that strategy in a little bit, but yeah, that's our goal. I came from McKesson. I've been here 7 years, but I was 23 years with McKesson. So all the things that Adam talked about in terms of EHRs and everything else like that definitely resonate in that history, and it's been really helpful to understand those perspectives being on the healthcare side of this. Just a couple other things on this slide. Like I said, I'll talk about the segmentation of our customer base here in a second. But yeah, from an acute standpoint, the supply chain management was a big part of us being able to have a strong foray into the healthcare space. So particularly on the provider side, having HR, financials, and supply chain all working together is a big piece. The other big part is planning. Today we have over 200 planning customers within our healthcare practice. We have 6,500 planning customers within Workday. So it was an acquisition of Adaptive Planning, which occurred about 4 years ago, which is really been a real strong acquisition for us. And then from an overall financial standpoint, y'all are full platform. That's pretty much the trend, particularly on the large enterprise side. We within mid-market still have a good amount of work to do where customers do invest in HR and payroll first and then have a follow-on financials. That's where Mark Butler comes into play as we try and, the goal is, I think, for everybody to get to that level of efficiency with a single platform. So that's just a little bit, again, about what we're doing within the healthcare practice. One more slide there, just to kind of give you an idea of how we're segmented. Again, this is at a macro level. By industry, you see about half of it's acute, and then we have a strong blending of post-acutes and kind of other, rounding that out. And then if you look at by size, the mid-market is a big part of what we do with just over or just around half of the market being medium enterprise. That's where we are. Yeah. So yeah, that's the way we look at mid-market too, it's 3,500 FSC and under. We're one of the things.
3,000, I think.
Yeah, and that's really kind of in our, if you look at it, our sweet spot of 1,000, that 3,500, a lot in that 1,000 to 2,000 is a very strong component of that market. And yeah, and we're, one of the things we are doing is, there's only so many of the big ones, and we continue to have a lot of focus, doing those mid markets, and we're even trying to be able to scale to those lower emerging markets, which trying to make sure we have it in a methodology that can be a successful methodology for the smaller markets. So, any questions on any of that? Okay. Next slide. And then this is just a little snapshot of the behavioral health space. Y'all are pretty familiar with this, but what we do try and do, and again, helps with customer base, is we trying to align similar customers in their journeys together. We are fortunate we have some strong customers within behavioral health. Obviously,
I
all.
thought Acadia used your payroll. I thought payroll was.
We might. We'd have to go back and look. I mean, this is, our industry team kind of puts these things together. We could miss one or two here and there, but yeah, most of these other ones I'm pretty familiar with. RHA in Atlanta, been a customer for a long time, full platform. Y'all full platform. Centerstone, big one in Nashville. So
I know Centerstone.
yeah. So again, good presence here. I think we do well in the space. It's always interesting to see what the nuances are of the different types of providers, and the way when we segment it out, whether it's senior living or behavioral health, and try and make sure that there's little nuances to what you're doing. We want to try and make sure that the product is supporting that as best it can. So,
Yep.
Next. And then I think this is just, I think I highlighted most of this. Just again, I would say the focus from us is a standpoint of Workday continuing to grow. I mean, we have lofty goals to continue to expand the business, but at the same time, really trying to maintain that customer satisfaction level, as well as that predictable, live process that, and again, makes a positive sustainment model. We talked a lot about, stabilizing and optimizing. That's where we really focus ourselves. We want you to get the most out of it. It is a premium product, but there's a lot there. We want to make sure you get the most out of that. I think we just got our class rating as top in class at the HEMS conference that was just in Orlando last week. So I think that's 7 years running. So pretty excited about that. But again, continue to be very focused on our pillars of our employees and our customers, top of our focus. One more slide there, I think. And then just from a Workday standpoint, kind of getting back to what Adam was talking about, really the value of the single platform, right? Is in whether you've got your foundational components, financials, HR, spend management, or supply chain management, but continuing to make sure we're layering in the most appropriate things to keep expanding that value for you. So you're not having to have niche applications to tie into those things. The more we can have core functionality within the platform is our goal. The great thing is as we add that, the security, which is the strength of our system, sits there at the foundation, our business processes, compliance. I don't think there's anything stronger in the business. And then, from an innovation standpoint, we'll cover off a little bit, but lots to talk about on the AI front. People are always asking about that. And I think that the comforting thing is we've been foundationally building in AI over the last several years. So it's not a new thing for us. We have a number of products that are already leveraging AI, and then we've got a plan and roadmap to just keep expanding.
Yeah, I saw a cool demo on it at Rising.
Yeah. Yeah, and there'll be even more this year.
Cool.
So it's an aggressive plan, but also a responsible plan. We spend a lot of time on the ethics of AI as a business. So one that we're going to continue to be very involved in that discussion.
I think we're over to Bill now.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Bill?
One thing on this slide,
Yeah.
to just kind of, not just for later, the analytics and reporting, like discovery boards and stuff.
Yep.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about that, because right now we use Tim's system, Power BI.
Okay.
We run everything into Power BI, and that's just another bolt on. So if you have something that's
Yes.
core,
Yeah, so, we'll cover off on that, but I think we're going to actually show you a little bit of some of the analytics and reporting,
Okay,
leveraging
cool.
discovery boards kind of towards the end.
cool. Yeah, no, in other words, I just wanted to.
But to your
Earmark
point, we have the Prism product, which enables you to bring in third-party data into that core Workday platform. So the value there is same security model, same user interface, all those things leveraging what you already have so much of your business. I mean, basically you have two pillars. You got an EHR, you got an ERP system. So the more that we can help you bring it into that single platform that you're comfortably using, whether it's at the desktop or mobile, those things are key. So, Bill?
All right. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right. And you can hear me okay? Good.
And,
All right. So, perfect. Thanks for the kicking things off. Just by way of introduction, my name is Bill Hare. I'm the Director of Strategy for our healthcare division. I actually came from Oconomowoc. So I lived over on Maple Street for many years, right across, well, sort of across from the band shell. So I'm very familiar, and I certainly miss Oconomowoc. So
where you at geographically right now?
So I'm in an interesting situation. Yeah, so I actually about 8 months ago, I moved full-time into an Airstream. So now I travel the country, and I get to meet with my coworkers an awful lot that I've traveled with over the last 15 years. And so, yeah, it's been really quite exciting. And I get to chase weather now. So I get to avoid, the April snowstorms that Wisconsin has sometimes. So right now I'm in Las Vegas. My daughter goes to UW Madison, and she's on spring break with me here in Las Vegas. And we're just kind of hanging out and catching shows in the evenings. So anyways, so I've been at Workday for the last 10 years. I started out in pre-sales, but I've got about 20 years in healthcare. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through some of the roadmap. Peter already brought this up, but I'm required by Workday law to also incorporate the safe harbor as part of my presentation. Again, we're going to be talking a lot about what's happening in the future, some of what's like right on the verge of being deployed today. But we just asked that you keep these forward-looking statements in mind. Roadmaps do have a way of changing, but we've been really consistent in delivering on our roadmap. In talking with Ken late last week, we're going to focus a lot on the orange areas, but I'm going to draw out some additional things that I think will be particularly important for Rogers. But if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to jump in. Feel free to ask. If we want to drill deeper into any of these, we certainly can. Really, I want to focus on 3 areas of investment that we were making toward healthcare. And first, it's to help attract, retain, and empower employees and give them the best experience possible. And we're also looking at ways to control costs, preserve margins, and support operational excellence across all disciplines. And then finally, we want to provide all of the information and insight to better understand cost, delivery of care, and monitor operational performance. So we want to help you become a more agile business. We understand how the industry is constantly changing, and we think we've got the platform to allow for that agility. Now, the way that we focus our investment within healthcare is really three ways. We natively build in healthcare specific functionality into the platform. We also are leveraging our industry ecosystem that's made up of different software partners and service partners. And then we have what we call industry accelerators. And this is pre-built configurations and reports that allow you to bring faster time to value. So we're going to be covering off on all three aspects of this to some degree. But where I thought I would start is really on the AI front. We're investing heavily in this area, but we're doing this very responsibly. And there's really a persistent myth in machine learning and AI that the quantity of data is the most important thing. And while, yes, that's important, the data sets for these large language models are super important, but we also feel that the quality of data oftentimes trumps the quantity of data. So having that core system of record in place allows you to help to leverage the different use cases within AI. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we again wanted to be really thoughtful and responsible as we deliver this. And it's an interesting space. There's a lot of downstream ramifications that, a lot of organizations aren't thinking about what happens if you are predicting things like retention risks and then changing the behavior for those employees. There are compliance considerations and biases to keep into account. So we're really taking a methodical approach toward this. And it is a platform approach. So we really think that we are in a position to provide the best quality of data as well as the quantity of data and deliver AI in a responsible manner. And we've already delivered over 40 specific use cases in this arena, ranging from things like Skills Cloud, candidate matching, learning recommendations. We do have the ability to identify some things like attrition predictions and things like that so that you can get ahead of the curve. And we were really looking to try and reduce the manual workload and streamline content creation, and then also provide insights and analytics that you can leverage to make better decisions. So an area, just to give you an idea, and I'm going to go through a couple of examples. We're incorporating things like generative AI. And if you've ever used ChatGPT, for example, it's great for creating suggested content, like a starting point. And one of the generative AI use cases that we're incorporating is for career growth plans. So oftentimes companies are doing a nice job with performance reviews and stuff like that, but taking it the next step and developing these growth plans and these career plans is often a difficult process and drops off because managers don't frankly know where to start in many cases. So we can use generative AI to help managers tackle this laborious process. And we can help them with the struggle of writing up based off of the performance reviews, feedback, and other employee demographic information to provide a starting point for that manager. Now, again, I want to emphasize that this is a starting point. The manager is going to retain ownership and control of that final plan, but this gives them that great starting point to leverage to kind of fill in the gaps in the details. So this is using the data within Workday to drive that career plan and help that employee be successful with that. We'll see other examples of generative AI when we talk about things like content creation for a knowledge base and job descriptions, for example. This is a big area of pain for a lot of organizations, is creating robust job descriptions. And again, generative AI can help facilitate that process and also use your data, leverage that in the job description, and then also check against things like bias automatically and create this job description that is robust and bias free. Another big enhancement that is coming out, and I think our HR folks, so Tricia and Stacy, I think this will be important. Incorporating the job profile into the business process framework so that you can have multiple levels of approval, multiple reviews. Oftentimes, you want to get maybe marketing involved or legal involved. They can do their checks and balances. So incorporating the job profile will allow for a lot more flexibility in managing those jobs more consistently. You'll also have access to enhanced reporting and effective dated fields. And again, we're using machine learning within the job profile to match skills and competencies to that job profile. So this is going to provide a lot of flexibility, and this has been a big ask and a much anticipated enhancement from a lot of our customers. And that's being delivered in this next release that we're expecting shortly here. We've also put a lot of focus in on the manager experience. So we've created this manager hub, which is going to provide insights for the manager to help understand what's happening with their team, provide some suggested actions, goals development, and intelligently nudge the manager to take action on these suggested items related to their employees. So we're going to be able to suggest things like skills and learning, both for the manager as well as their team. And we've got 38 specific use cases within the manager hub, one of which is the manager insights hub, where we're incorporating things like engagement data from Workday's employee voice to drive engagement. We've got supported actions within that manager hub, and you'll see this kind of consistently throughout Workday with things like the benefits hub, the career hub. So we're creating these pages where we're consolidating all of the information related to that topic in one actionable area. So not only providing the insights, but the ability to act upon those insights as well. And one of the other interesting things is we're enabling guided access throughout many of the business processes. So we understand that managers aren't going in and doing things like job changes or compensation reviews on a daily basis. So providing quick tips and tours and guided access to these workspaces so that managers don't have to kind of flounder around within a business process. We can provide those tool tips right embedded within those particular business processes and task configurations to allow ease of use for those managers. And we've incorporated this guided access in over 130 different tasks within the solution. Another area that we've really been focused on is meeting the worker and the manager where they're at. So we're leveraging things like Teams and Slack to incorporate Workday in your everyday environment so that you can perform commonly performed tasks within your natural environment. So if I've always got Teams sprung up, I'll be able to do things like approve time off requests right from Teams. It'll proactively kick out a notification to Teams, for example, where a manager can then take action on, the simple approval tasks and things like that. So we want to meet workers and managers where they're at by using the tools that they're using every day. So we're leveraging that, and we're also incorporating things like messaging into our processes. So the first iteration of this that you'll see is with candidates. So you'll be able to incorporate two-way SMS text messaging with candidates. So have back and forth dialogue. Good. Ken says we just got Teams working in production yesterday. That's awesome. But the messaging capability is going to allow for more collaboration across the entire hiring team. We're also incorporating collaborative notes within the interview process. And then, so not only is two-way messaging going to improve the decision making, but we're also including a chat box called Paradox Olivia in that recruiting process. And that's going to help enable and facilitate high volume hiring, mass actions, job requisition task automation, evergreen requisition support, and then disposition tasks to really reduce the manual interaction. So those are a couple of areas on the kind of recruiting front to help with that collaboration and messaging. We are also incorporating some healthcare specific content within our employee voice tool, so formerly known as Pecan. Working with healthcare providers and the ANCC to provide magnet certified questions. So really to enhance engagement, diversity, inclusion, health and well-being, open-ended questions to help facilitate that interaction with caretakers. One recommendation that I would make too is employee voice allows for a fairly consistent interaction with your employees. And I'll just state that at Workday, we get weekly surveys with 5 questions that show up right on my iPhone. I get a notification each week, and it asks a wide variety of questions in different categories. And managers then have access to that anonymized scoring related to employee sentiment, and employees can incorporate comments. And I used to be a people manager, and this is one of the most beneficial tools that I worked with because it provided that real-time feedback. I recall a specific example where work-life balance became a top issue amongst my team, and getting that frequent feedback allowed me to address that in my team meetings, reminding people of our PTO policy, and if we've got a slow week, to incorporate some of that PTO. So Pecan allows for that immediate engagement and micro adjustments from a manager perspective. And there was a recent study that McKinsey did that 50% of the attrition is due to their frontline manager. So if we can keep a good pulse on our employees and keep them engaged, this is a great tool for that. So, and again, we're incorporating healthcare specific questions for caretakers within that environment as well.
Right. Bill, one thing before you move on here, I just want to take one step back around messaging, like around recruitment. That's obviously a really big use case. But as far as SMS texting, you can use it more as like an enterprise communication platform. I've talked to Ken about this a little bit, where like you can notify employees of inclement weather, construction, like, we're not working in the office today. Or notify them of like open enrollment and benefits and things like that. So there's a few other things you can do with it beyond just recruiting.
Yeah, the capabilities are constantly expanding on the messaging to include a broader audience. We're also going to have the ability to create groups, so you can pinpoint those SMS texts in categorized groups. So you can use your organization structure to determine that, or create other more random groups if needed.
Hey, Bill, just one quick thing before you go on. We're getting a little, I don't know if there's anything you can do, but you're getting a little static. We're getting static.
Oh, now I just lost my screen too by trying to adjust. I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I'm connected via my PC. I wish I had controls to modify that. Am I listenable?
Oh yeah, you're listenable. It's just like a little bit of a little static at the end of the word. So sometimes.
Yeah,
okay.
Apologies.
Okay. What it is.
If it's a bandwidth issue, you're welcome to turn off your camera and see.
Yeah, you might want to do that.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys know you're all invested in the employee voice. Y'all own that product.
I mean, I know we own everything on that side of the house. So I mean, yeah, it's about implementing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure y'all knew that it was part of your portfolio. Okay.
So, and we understand employee engagement is a focal area for many healthcare providers, and Journeys is a solution that facilitates more meaningful collaboration to employees and managers with guided content and processes at the time that is relevant to them. So we can embed Journeys into business processes so that, as somebody is moving through their career, we can provide a unique journey for them to get all of the information that they need so that they feel comfortable transitioning into a new role. There's a lot of different use cases. We saw Journeys used a lot during the pandemic because it's a great way to deploy content that's easy to administer and easy to disseminate amongst your population. So we can create these cards where we can, provide news or actions needed within the platform. Let me just, there we go. So Journeys is going to really enable administrators to design very quickly and deliver experiences to support people during these critical moments such as job changes, policy changes, new directives, other important messaging that you want to produce in a prepared and documented way. You can track who's engaged in those journeys. So a couple of enhancements, we've added the ability to add documents. We can upload images and kind of create these more robust views of these different journeys. We also incorporated other audiences for these journeys for students, and we've got a welcome page, things like that. But I think the big one here is incorporating the document review portion as a part of journeys. In addition, we've incorporated Workday Help to help manage your cases and empower your service teams to be more efficient and productive. And we're providing more powerful authoring tools to publish data more quickly to align with your HR content delivery strategy. And again, we can use generative AI to produce things like knowledge-based articles, policy summarizations, for example. So generative AI is going to be an important component of help, and we're going to be able to, again, reduce the amount of work and provide these suggestions. So if you've got a policy that you want to have AI summarize, you can put together a knowledge-based article with FAQs associated with that, and then really tailor these articles with the right tone and personalize them for the readers. We've also made enhancements within Help to things like case routing and prioritization of long-running cases, really to enhance the service delivery, and then also provide surveys and measurements on the back end of these cases so that you can get feedback on how you've handled those cases. So and let me just state too that there's a lot of different SKUs, and I could probably spend a half an hour on each of these. But just know that there's a lot of depth and development. We're constantly innovating within the platform. One other big area that I think is going to be in particular importance for healthcare is we're creating an entirely new infrastructure model for our learning content providers. So we're creating Cloud Connect for Learning, and this is allowing for third-party content provider self-service. And this is going to enable us to greatly scale and expand our content, our third-party content providers. So you can see a listing of some of our current partners in the Cloud Connect for Learning design partner group. One of note that I want to point out is Relias, which provides healthcare specific content. They're part of our Cloud Connect for Learning platform. So this is, again, going to allow for the incorporation of more third-party content to be delivered easily and more scalable within the Workday environment. We're also making some significant enhancements to the overall infrastructure for on-the-job training. And our North Star with on-the-job training is the observational or skills checklist, so that in the acute care environment, you would have like a preceptor. I'm not sure if you've got a similar role within the organization where they can go through and validate skills by observing. So we're currently working through the infrastructure on that, with, again, the North Star being that observable checklist so that we can watch somebody perform a task and rate their proficiency. So we're building a lot of things related to the securities and roles associated with that functionality. Another key area that we're working on, and this is coming out in the next two releases. I'm sorry, in 25R1 and 25R2, which is going to happen a year from now, and then in the fall of 25. And the big news here is, pardon me, is allowing for multiple jobs with contingent workers. And we're also going to enable the ability for an employee to also be a contingent worker. So if you've got an employee that works full-time, for example, and there is essentially a contracted gig or something to that effect, we will allow the employee to hold both statuses within Workday. So we're expecting delivery on that in 25 R2. And this is in combination with Vindley, which is another more recent acquisition to help manage that contingent or contract labor. Another area of opportunity, and this kind of falls into our package solutions. So that third tier that I mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, and that's our workforce optimization strategy, where we're able to leverage volume data from your EHR, bring it into a productivity tool. We don't do the productivity calculations, but we work with your preferred productivity management tool. We do have a partner in HealthClicks that manages that productivity and does the calculation of the volumes in comparison with the standard hours of care per unit of volume. So they do that calculation, but then we're bringing that into Workday Prism so that we can understand better the workload of your employees in the job requisition process. So we can now bring that fully through Workday and present that labor productivity data within your job requisition so that we can understand the workload and make more informed decisions. We're extending this use case into our planning features so that we can use that volume data for your overall workforce planning. We've got about a dozen customers that are currently doing an iteration of this. And frankly, we've seen unbelievable results in marrying that volume data with workload. So we can incorporate your Chronos time and labor data with this content, bring that in to better inform your overall staffing. I can see, I just got a connection warning. You can hear me reasonably well?
Yeah, it's about the same, Bill.
Okay, very good. And just to give you an example, this package solution is going to be delivered in the mid to late April timeframe. And this is just showing you that productivity percentage within a dashboard within Prism, and then within the job requisition, presenting that data so that you can see here, for example, we can put in configurable business processes to automate some of this if you desire, but again, all configurable. We can see if you're over 110% productive, this is indicating that you might be short-staffed and would indicate a higher decision, versus if you're below 95%, it would identify that you're overstaffed in this particular area and may not need to hire. We see that oftentimes the knee-jerk reaction is when you've got turnover, backfill the position. But if the volumes are indicating otherwise, we can reallocate that budget perhaps and move that to a department or a position that is experiencing higher volumes with unmet needs. So we're really excited about this offering that's going to be delivered here shortly. And then as it relates to planning, we've got a number of areas. We are allowing for a comparison of plan to actual in real time. So you're going to be able to get that real-time information within the plan so that you can have a more agile planning process. So you don't have to rely on an annual checkup, if you will, or an annual recalibration. You can do this calibration on a much more frequent basis. And again, incorporating some of that volume data can enhance the power of your decision making. We're also coming out with the ability to come out with personal what ifs, so you can run in your own kind of dashboard your own what ifs before incorporating that into the overall plan. So I know we've got some other areas that we want to cover related to reporting with Lauren. So the big things that I want you to take away are we are constantly finding ways to innovate and enable your workforce through machine learning and artificial intelligence. We're collaborating with partners and customers to deliver healthcare specific functionality. And we're really focused on investing to streamline processes and deliver operational efficiencies. And certainly if there's any other areas that you guys want to dive in deeper on, you can definitely schedule more time to dive into that. Are there any broad questions before I turn things over to Lauren for kind of a high level overview of some of the reporting capabilities?
I have a lot, so we probably don't want to go over it right now. Exciting stuff, though.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, so that was helpful.
Oh, yes, it was. Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Bill, Ken had just asked too, and if this needs to be like a follow-up, he had asked in the chat, like if there's any information on AI chatbots or Workday Assistant. I don't know if there's anything.
You faded out toward the end there. Chatbots and Workday Assistant. What was the?
I'm sorry, AI chatbots and Workday Assistant. Ken had dropped a note in chat if we had anything that we're working on.
Yeah, so I mean, we are constantly innovating. That is accessible today. I don't have the specific roadmap items on what they're specifically working on related to the chatbot, but I can certainly dive in and provide follow-up if there are specific.
Okay, yeah, I can take that as a follow-up.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
You bet. I'll stop sharing, and unless there's any other questions, I'll turn things over to Lauren.
Before we kind of go over to the analytics overview, we do have, I know we have, a little bit of time here with lunch and everything, but any questions before we go over to that, or?
I do have one general question.
Yeah.
So a lot of that forecasted upcoming, how does that layer into what we've already purchased? Are those all enhancements?
Oh, some of the stuff you already, like you own, like Bill, most of the item, the stuff you talked about would be enhancements to what you own.
Yeah.
Messaging, that is one that you don't own today, so that was outside of Prism, but most of those items would say you own.
Yeah. Decon, the health, James, all those talent optimization.
Journeys as well. Okay.
Remember we talked about it pre-implementation, it was just.
I have a lot of questions with that one. Yeah, there's a lot there.
We're trying to get that in scope.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of
It's-
flows.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
depends on how much bandwidth we can take from.
Sure.
the cost is per work.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
obviously our higher priorities are Alex.
Yeah. Getting the LMS in there. Yeah. Yeah.
The Mark?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, was the question more around like, we have all this wonderful new functionality, like how do we get it? I mean, I'm not sure how familiar you are with our update schedule and how when new functionality comes out, it comes out turned off. But it's certainly something that it's worth another conversation.
Yeah.
If you want to.
We'll probably cover
might
off.
be able to circle back a little bit, Stacy. So part of the stabilization too, in my eyes, is being able to regularly take the update packages that are coming through and having a system in place where that can be reviewed. Now there's kind of a governance system that is helping to review these. Ken probably really leads that and has a lot of detail around, what's available, what are new releases, what is the group prioritizing, and we would really welcome your input into that. And so if there's an opportunity for us to kind of sit together and show that to you and get your feedback, and with Tracy, we're happy to show you kind of where we're at in that process, and then get your input on areas you might want to focus on.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of an area too where I think we're going to talk about the support and success. But that's kind of one of the focal points of that, is helping you through that process to make sure that feature adoptions are, there's the awareness and then help with prioritization based on value and lift. But yeah, it's a big thing. I mean, the great news is we got 2 releases a year with lots of functionality coming out, and what we're as a business trying to help make sure you're able to manage that most effectively. So we'll cover a little bit more on that. So
And the good news is Ken is already working on implementing Teams, which is a new item. And so I think we have a good flow, but I think getting the priority and steering and your input is going to be helpful to setting the roadmap.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
Just to let you know, Chris and Stacy, you guys can both download the Teams app. It will work for you guys too if you want to check it out, but we haven't rolled it out to the greater organization yet.
Oh, and within the Workday where you go to apps and download, is that what you're
I
talking
would be
about?
within Teams. You would search for the Workday app, download it, and sign in, and you're good to go from there.
Oh, so before you start from the team side.
Yes.
Good to know. Thanks, Ken.
You bet.
All right, Lauren, stage is yours if you want to jump into the high level overview of analytics there.
All right, perfect. I just want to make sure I sound okay and you can see
Yeah.
my screen before I get
You
started.
sound great, Lauren.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so just a little bit about me. My name is Lauren Akery. I'm a financial solution consultant, so I focus on our financial products and I focus specifically on our healthcare only. So really wanting to dive into that. I come to Workday from prior accounting experience. So I've done a lot of these items, journal entries, reporting, analytics. That's all been my wheelhouse. So I'm excited to share with you some of these great features that are right here within Workday. And that's one of the great things about Workday is we do have our financials, our supply chain management, and our human capital management in one solution, but we also have our reporting and analytics. So we can create dashboards, configure dashboards, really to whatever needs or information you want. And I really like to think of these dashboards, reporting, and analytics as one click for information. So I'm logged in here as more of that controller, CFO, manager. So she has lots of access to different information. So I'm starting here on our executive overview dashboard. Lots of information for you to see very quickly how you're doing. So this one really focuses more on the workforce and the headcount. So all of this information is readily available. But we can also pull in some third-party information as well. So I like to show this one. This is pulling in some call center metrics. This is also pulling in some demographic information as well as some staffing information. So again, pulling in all of this information to utilize Workday as that one reporting tool, that one analytics tool, and we can start really looking at that information together versus just having our call center metrics separately or some of our our EHR system separate. We can start pulling all of that information together. So if I go to this next tab, our operational analysis, this is really thought of as, again, we're operating our business. We want to have that information readily available. So this is a little bit more financial focused, so we can have that quick view. We even have our actual information. We can pull in our budget information as well as having some calculated fields. We can really start drilling into those specific items that are really causing us issues or causing us to stay up late at night and try and dig into what's happening. So we can have those metrics here as well. Now we can still see that we have all of this information here, but we're still connected in Workday. So if we needed to get down to those detail levels, we still have all of these different business dimensions and work tags to start slicing and dicing this information. And I like to show that because you can start taking action right from your report. It's not just reports or stagnant information. This is utilizing real-time information, still drillability into those actual detailed information. Now here's where we start getting into the secret sauce. So this is bringing in information from your EHR system and marrying that up with some financial information, some human capital management information, so we can start really getting into how are we doing? Because that's the biggest question is, how are we doing? And really to get that information out of the system, actually able to use that to make those business decisions is the name of the game. So here we can see how we're doing. We can see how we're doing on an occupancy based metric here. We can also see how we're doing, total occupancy. Maybe there's some different notes in here. So maybe we can see in that conversation, that collaboration amongst the teams. So we can see that, those are, holding steady. Maybe we don't need to look into those any further. But here we can see we have some additional metrics here, patients per nurse. That's our statistic that we're looking into. And here we can see a little bit more detail around that. We can even get down to that detail level, that more detailed report right from here too. So a lot of information readily available right here on the dashboard. Now I want to show a little bit different dashboard here as well. We'll get into more of the clinical metrics. Again, bringing in all of that information from the EHR system into Workday. Now, just because it's third-party information doesn't mean that we're losing some of the detailed capabilities. Now, we can do that by utilizing what Bill was talking about, Prism. We can bring in that third-party data. And Mark will talk about this as well, but utilizing Accounting Center to really bring in rich, detailed information to still drill into. Now, to show that, we can start drilling into these reports. So if we want to really, focus on what's happening in our adverse events, we can drill into that right from this dashboard. So let's say, our Buffalo Hospital, we're trending upward a little bit, so we can drill into here a little bit further and really start getting into the detail. Now you can see we have a lot of different fields here, so we can see our provider information. Now these are all in blue, so these are actual employees. So if we needed to see different information about our employees, we can see that from here as well. If we needed to see the manager, supervisory organization, all of that is here, and bringing in all of that information from that third-party system is here as well. So this is really where we're starting to marry all of that information from third-party systems as well as Workday, and really putting it in one location to really get to the information faster and really start looking at how are we doing and how can we make better decisions based on the information. Before I jump to discovery boards with my last few minutes, any questions on some of these dashboards or analytics that we're looking at here before I jump to there?
Feel free to chime in. Make sure.
Yeah. Try to take it.
I don't think
Right,
any
perfect.
questions are at this moment, Lauren.
Okay. Mhm.
I think just some
All right,
things
so
to know, like these also require like certain operational processes to be in place. Like if you don't assign nurses to patients clearly, it's hard to put a report that says how many patients a nurse has specifically, right? You can do it in generality. I think there's a lot of interesting features in here, and some need to, we have some overlapping systems that I think we need to consider. But I think the ability to pull centralized information here is a good option, but we require a change, I think, from how we're doing it today, and maybe it's something we want to look into.
You gotta be structured to support it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I know there were some questions around discovery boards, so I will show some discovery boards here as well. Now, I like to show these. These are very easy to use. We really utilize that drag and drop feature, so more of that robust pivot tables of sorts. And I like to show this too because this is coming from our customers. So utilizing our community of, all of our customers, and this was one of their, asks or requests was easy reporting, easy drag and drop for ad hoc reports. How can we make that easier? So that is how Discovery Boards was born.
So just one quick question.
And since we're focusing a little bit
I'm
more,
sorry, Lauren, I just wanted to
Yeah.
set one. Are y'all using discovery boards at all today? Okay. All right, I just was just making sure, and then it is part of that's a presentation. That's core to the system. It's a capability of the system. So go ahead. Sorry, Lauren.
so I will ask the question too before I get too far. Have any of you seen Discovery Boards in other demos? Anything that you've seen before?
I don't think, I think there's a lot of nodding that no, they have not.
Okay. All right, so this is the first time we've seen discovery boards. Awesome. So again, really simple, very user-friendly, drag and drop. So these are just some that we have built, but I want to show how easy this is to change what analytics we're looking at, what sort of information we're looking at. So I have this one started here, cost of care by spend category. Now we can see all of this information has pulled in. Now this is still in Workday. We still have access to real-time information and still have that security profile to ensure the correct people are seeing the correct information. But let's say spend category is only getting me so much information. Maybe I want to see this by a little bit different view. Maybe I want to see how we're spending our money by supplier. So easily drag and drop that, automatically updated in real time right from there. Now, maybe if I'm clicking around and this is still only giving me so much information, maybe I want to see this a little bit differently. And I'll pull in cost center. Again, real time, quickly updating this. Now I need to change my title here because I changed that. So we'll update this. And can easily change how this is looking. So maybe I want to change, some of the options. Maybe I want to change the color palettes. Maybe I want to change that we only have, let's see, pull on my top 5. So now I'm really starting to build context and really starting to drill into those big action items and quickly can utilize discovery boards to see that, to click, drag and drop and see really what makes sense for that information that you want to pull. Now, let's say I can change the type of chart. I mean, tons of different customizations and configurations from here. And maybe that looks different. Maybe I'll go back to my my other chart here. So now that I have that updated in my discovery board, I can save that. But I can also publish this out to other dashboards to have that readily available to people. Again, thinking about security, thinking about creating one report, but sending that out across the board to really see that information that makes sense for that particular manager. So we can easily make this available on an actual dashboard here. So I'll put this on my operations dashboard. There we go. Then I can also share this out. So maybe I just want to keep this internal to my own profile, and this is just my own analytics that I want to work through. Maybe I want to share this with other users or other specific users. I can do that right from here as well. Now, even though I share this with particular users, the security is still at play to still ensure that everyone is seeing the correct information. All right, so I'm going to save that here. And just one more step to actually get this on my dashboard. And I want to make sure that this is large, very important for other team members to see this. So I want to make sure that this is front and center on their dashboard. And to do that, we can just add that worklet in here. Oh, that's not my worklet. I'll take that off here. I might have to work on my security settings there, but anyway, it's a very easy tool to be able to quickly drag and drop. I can put that information out for my team to see, readily available in that one-stop shop. So even though it's quickly able to drag and drop, very easy to still push that information out. Does that help kind of show just a quick high-level overview of discovery boards? Anything else I can show on discovery boards before I send it over to Mark?
That's really good. I appreciate it, and that's helpful. I love it that that's part of the presentation and stuff. And I don't mean to take away from any of that, but this really feels like, really advanced stuff when we're currently struggling with core workflows. So I don't mean to take anything away. It's a great presentation. I love it. I love seeing it. Thank you for doing that. It was necessary to see, but really, it feels like way out there because we are struggling with the core workflow in the system right now.
I think you gotta get the workflows down, clearly, but I also think that understanding that, this is where you really want to get, and customers see this sometimes during presentations, and they're like, all of a sudden they do the deployment, and they're like, well, where are the discovery? So it's not that hard, but I think that's got to happen first. But for you, for the executive level or end user, this is where you want to get to, hopefully sooner than later, once you get that foundational stuff done, because it's going to change the way you use the system.
Yeah, to contain my excitement because it's cool, but to
Yeah.
Chris's point,
Yeah.
just looking to stabilize together. So it's like,
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're not pulling basic financials out of Workday right now. So I mean, that's the level of struggle. That's the bust that we're on.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yes, thank you.
Mark, is it Mark going now or no?
I guess I don't know if Mark, you're on mute. I don't know if you had anything to add. Otherwise, I think we're gonna kind of make sure that you had an understanding of like your base support model.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on some of the questions that, I mean, I can certainly get in and give you guys a high level of accounting center, but if the priority there is stabilization, and enabling you to, get as much out of your current investment, I think I would want to understand what you are doing. I mean, I know we just went live, but like what are you doing today? I mean, do you have some post go live support from the partner? You had mentioned that the deployment maybe wasn't perfect, or like, what is the support model today? And maybe we can listen to that and understand how best to support you moving forward, or maybe even level up the support that you're getting in some way, shape, or form to get you stable.
Yeah, so the implementation SOW contained a period of time, for post go live support. I think we're about through that. So the whole time we retained Trisha as kind of the head independent consultant. We also have under her additional 3 or 4 or 5 additional independent consultants that are specialized in the different modules. That are currently helping us, but they have a huge list to get through. I mean, so yeah, I don't know, Trish, if you want to add to that, expand on that, or.
Yeah, I think, we have some really, really good talent that we've secured kind of on demand and as needed basis. So really, as we get through stabilization, it's a little heavier, but we're looking to really pull back. But we do have some solid, many times certified contract resources kind of in our back pocket on the back burner as our dedicated resources, that have been really just tackling the day-to-day. I know on the finance side, we just brought somebody in to help, Eric and his team. But ideally, yeah, we really start looking at some of this advanced, the advanced functions of Workday. I feel like we're just, we're aligned, I think, with most clients. It's a little bit delayed. I know it's usually 3 months, but we still have quite a few pain points. And I think that's a result of what Chris was saying earlier, just KPMG going through that launch methodology and getting it in. But yeah, I think we're feeling good about the contractors. We're just internally, we want to obviously train up our teams to support our systems. rather than have to leverage these contractors. Go ahead, Ken, sorry. Or Adam.
Ken,
I'll let Ken go first, but I might have a little more, I guess, maybe detail or strategy on what we're hoping to achieve over this next like 9 to 12 months. That might provide some clarity as we transition through different levels of support
Yeah.
and stabilization. But I'll let
That'd be
Ken go
great to
ahead
hear.
first.
I was just going to say that the consultants, they're certainly great in their respective functional areas, but there's also plenty of functional areas that the consultants don't have any overlap on. So they don't know what they don't know, and having resources to be able to lean on, even from the greater Workday ecosystem, on just areas that they may not have the most experience on, could definitely help provide us a more holistic solution that would benefit the greater teams as opposed to just a single solution provided from a specific functional area. But that's just my perspective of having worked with a good number of them.
No, that's good insight. I wasn't aware of that, Ken. Offline, can you work with Tricia and Adam to put together a list of gaps that we currently have so we can do something about that?
Absolutely.
And then that probably makes sense to dig into kind of this next section, then maybe that'll help from a Workday standpoint to kind of what you have. I think maybe where we can help supplement some of that as you're trying to get to where you need to be. From a stabilization standpoint.
Adam, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we went through the implementation, we obviously had the support of KPMG, but there were defects or I think problems with their consultants. So we did hire some extra consultants, which we had found valuable in the areas that had gaps at that time. Now, as we go through different phases of the project, we basically have a support model in place that was recommended kind of, I think, via a Workday via KPMG to have different business leads embedded in functional areas that would own some level of system configuration. Now, these people are largely the same people that had gone through these kinds of previous implementations, and they, let's say, would come in with zero experience in Workday. And so one of the challenges is training them up and also having them involved in the implementation, knowing that that's not going to provide enough time for someone with very little experience to really understand and master the beautiful complexities of this system. So as we enter this phase post implementation and post the kind of implementation partner or support, we have carried our consultants forward and will continue to evaluate where those gaps and needs come up. But the expectation is that these employees pick up a good, let's say, generally with a system like this, and for the changes we would handle probably about 60% of the changes. Most of them are going to be minor. Most of them need to be done quickly, and most of them are something we would leverage this system to do. There will be a need in the future, as we're not a technology company, we're a healthcare company, to have a partner on the side when different ebbs and flows or demands exceed the kind of, let's say, cadence or capacity at that time. We are trying to focus on educating these people as much as possible, but I think there also need, some other roles have changed. Their level of involvement in maintaining the system versus doing daily operations, and how do you balance that as you build more efficiencies? And so I think we are going to be a little bit slower than you see someone who had a full team primed and ready to go could get through 30 days. But it's important that over the next 9 months, we are able to own our system, feel confident in our system, and be able to really direct the roadmap instead of just constantly relying on people to kind of fix problems as they come up. So I think this is a really important stage for all of us as leaders watching this process. I do the good signs. So through some of the stabilization, we've largely been operating like a Kanban agile method because of the influx of issues and complexity. Right now, we are kind of transitioning to more of like a safe agile model where we are able to build future roadmaps of enhancements. And this is where it becomes is pivotal for me, because it shows that we're getting out of the waterfall and we're having time to plan on things going forward. We are planning it in the order that kind of Stacy suggested earlier. There are defects or critical issues, some which remain have a big shadow like the one in finance, which we need to resolve, right? But we are starting to go to what we call like enhancements or efficiencies before full-blown new projects, with the exception of knowing we have some priority and timeline items with a particular enhancement around talent, which we are set to do. And so we still have a lot on our plate and things are starting to transition, but they are not stable and need constant guidance and monitoring to kind of move forward in this path. So one of the, some of the options, there was various support options, I think, provided, that we had reviewed before. I think, the ones that stand out to be probably of value most sooner are ones around education, the staff assistants, and looking to kind of evaluate the offerings that you have, the feedback from our business leads and the consultants to understand really where the most value will be and when for us to consider the next stages of evolution in this support model and when we might be the best time to make that move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so did they share with you the Workday success plans? Is that?
Yeah, they have. And like, I was able to get down to like, you get this much free training, you get this much, and being able to calculate the cost and the hours of that and taking that in relation to how much we have reliance on our consultants. I think right now our consultant reliance exceeds the value there. But as we start making our people more independent, I believe that will have a tipping point in which I'm trying to to reasonably calculate within like a strike zone of 2 to 3 weeks to be able to reasonably say this is the most valuable move and this is probably the suggested time to make that move.
Yeah, now that makes sense. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we have a section, we're gonna cover off on this, Mark. So yeah, but that is a consideration.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add around support model? Like Paul said, Kelly's just gonna kind of cover off on what you have today and how that kind of differs a little bit from success plan. So we do want to make sure that you can fully utilize the support
and I believe even though where you are, it's complementary to the current status. But why don't we let Kelly go through.
Yeah, Kelly, if you wanna go ahead, you're star of the show here.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
It's kind of quiet.
Oh.
One second here.
No. My volume is all the way up. I don't, let me see if there's.
We got it as high as we can go to.
Okay, so I sound quiet. I'm usually a very loud person, so that's surprising that it's quiet.
Okay, you might just have to raise your voice a little bit more.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Let me see. Hold on. If I can. There was like a background suppression thing. I turned it off. I don't know if that helped at all. No, maybe not.
Yeah, you're a little louder now. So
you're a little better. Yeah.
Okay. I will just project in the way that I know how. And yeah, if you guys need me to repeat anything at all, just let me know. A little bit about me, I guess, very briefly. So my name is Kelly Szymanski. I'm a customer success manager here at Workday. I've been with Workday in this customer success space for just over 8 years. And I believe the team would have gotten some sort of email communication about the changes to our customer success model starting this fiscal year. Our fiscal year started in February. So what I thought I could do briefly was provide an overview of what the new model looks like. And then we also have some slides that get into a little bit more detail about Workday success plans. If that would be valuable. I know we've sort of talked about how you guys have been introduced to WSP, but if talking about the value of some of the components of the subscription, given what I've been hearing y'all talk about now, might be helpful, then that's something I can touch on too. And just like, I think part of why Peter included me in this conversation I'm a member of the team that is here to support you guys moving forward. So kind of the gist of how this model has evolved is that there is now a team of customer success managers here to support you. And the idea behind that is the team of CSMs that we have here all have a host of different expertise, whether that aligns to a specific functional area in Workday or industry experience. So on my team in particular, someone has come from the healthcare vertical. There's someone else who came from our education and government space. And holistically, we have all sorts of different skills that, depending on the needs of our customers, we can come together to support you in the best way possible. That's really the gist of where this team model is coming from. And I've had some of these meetings before, talking to organizations about what the engagement will look like moving forward. And within this model, we will still initiate proactive adoption and value engagements to support you guys at key moments of your journey with Workday. And there are also preemptive engagements that are based on data-driven insights that we're able to look at behind the scenes to make sure that as an organization, you're staying on track, you're continuing to innovate, and you're evolving as the Workday product continues to evolve over time. So the slide you're seeing here, it just shows an example of the different types of engagements that you can expect from us throughout your customer success journey. And I took a look because I can see kind of behind the scenes. The next engagement specific to Rogers that you guys are due for is that this adoption and value roadmap planning engagement. So the one you're seeing, that initial plan phase. We do have a CSM on my team who has a wealth of healthcare experience assigned to that engagement. That is scheduled to take place in the next few months. And so the idea being, he will proactively be reaching out to your team. I will connect with him as a result of this meeting to kind of give some background on how this conversation went. And the idea of that call is that he's going to meet with your team to kind of talk about current state and then future roadmap, where you guys want to go as a company, and how Workday is going to help you get there. And then over time, every 6 months or so, there will continue to be engagement with the customer success team, whether that's a roadmap progress update meeting where we're staying aligned to help, make sure that you're meeting those objectives that were initially discussed, and then to have ongoing adoption and value review meetings to ensure that we're seeing an uptake in the technology. We're able to look at analytics on the back end, and we provide you with information about how you can continue to innovate, take on more features, and just really make sure you're getting as much value as possible out of the system. So at a high level, that is the customer success model. I guess I'll pause for a second to see if there's questions or anything like that from the team. Okay, and if not, the other few slides we have here. So I mentioned I am a part of this team that is here to support you. Last year, I was actually a part of a team that supported Workday Success Plan customers specifically. So I had a portfolio of customers that owned Workday Success Plans. And so I don't know if it makes sense. I guess I'll let, Peter, you and the team on the Teams meeting or in the room, if you guys think it makes sense to talk about some of these components of WSP, I'm more than happy to talk about them. But we kind of thought introducing you to this teamed model and how customer success will support you today made the most sense as like a starting point. And then if you feel like talking about how support would differ with Workday Success Plans, I'm more than happy to cover that as well, if it makes sense.
So this is information that I covered with Adam and Ken, and I don't want to be redundant. We're happy to talk through this during lunch as well, but I guess just kind of open it up to you, something that you want to see a little bit, more in depth. The reason that, again, I pulled in Kelly, I understand the importance of stabilization. I want to make sure that you understand all the resources there are a couple. So.
Yeah, well, and I think where you guys are, I think it does make sense to at least talk through, and we have a couple flavors of it right now, but Kelly, if we could just touch base on where it is, but, and again, what I think it brings to the table, based on where they are today and where they're trying to go.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess I'll caveat this by saying one of the differentiators is that you would have a dedicated customer success manager like myself, as opposed to the team model that I just talked through. That doesn't, what that really means is that the customer success manager who would be assigned to your account specifically is there to make sure that you're utilizing all of the components within the subscription to get the most value out of that part, that component of your contract. So when I would support Workday Success Plan customers last year, we would have these monthly 30-minute meetings where we basically talk about these components that I'll touch on here in a second, and just make sure that you felt like the team understood how to utilize them, that if there was something that needed to be scheduled before the contract ended, we were pushing you to ensure that you were doing that so you don't lose any value from the subscription. So that's where the dedicated CSM kind of comes into play there. This slide is covering Ask an Expert. So this is really that dedicated consulting support that you would receive. As a full platform customer, you would get 3 Ask an Expert requests per week. And that really means that you get per request, it's essentially 3 hours of support. So there's like the prep that the consultant does going into the meeting. There's an hour-long meeting where you're actually with the consultant, and up to an hour of follow-up that the consultant would do after the meeting. So it's a lot of time that gets put into each and every request, and you get 3 per week that every week they start fresh. So the idea being you want to use this support. It is a lot of support you're getting from consultants, and depending on the product area that you need assistance with, when you submit the request, it goes to a consultant who has expertise in that functional area to provide you with support there.
And I would just maybe add, Kelly, that the support is actually in tenant access, so they see how you're set up. And it covers all the products that you have. Any product that you're under subscription with is applicable. And as you add them, those get added to the WS profile. So
yeah, and it can be a host of whether it's you need help troubleshooting an issue, they can help you there. The idea is that they want to help your team become more self-sufficient. They want to be able to educate your team so that you can do more of the tasks in Workday on your own. That's how the in-tenant access is really going to help them to do that. But there is also the ability to get demonstrations of features that you own that you might not have turned on today. Like if there's a subset of functionality that you haven't turned on in the system, an Ask an Expert request can be used to like dive into that product area and get you a little bit more clarity on where you might want to go in that particular space.
And as things come up too, I mean, I think about like slight modifications to business process framework, like open enrollment, things like that. I mean, that's where I've seen I've had a ton of customers on this. We've been doing this for about 5 years, and I just think it's a heck of a lot of value for what you get, especially where you guys are in your days in trying to eventually get more independent. It offers quite a bit of value. And from a Workday standpoint, we have about 1,000 customers doing this now across our base. And directionally, this is where we're trying to get more folks to go. Because again, part of the reason we came out with this, it's almost 5 years ago now, it's keeping up with releases, being able to, I know obviously you have consultants here that are certainly serving a big purpose, but there's still those times where you're a little caught on something, and rather than having it fester, because you don't have that expertise in house, enables you to give a lifeline to hopefully move on from a small challenge or hiccup to get better.
Adam and Ken, I see you have some questions.
Adam
I
has his
think-
hand up first.
Just more of a, I think a comment. I think the clarity that Workday provides in these service packages allows us to very clearly evaluate the value. So, we get 3 hours of support per week at this model. You get X amount of free training and evaluate kind of where our teams are at. To kind of understand, what level, like if we had Workday supporting us, at what level would we change? I mean, I see value in these functions, but I'm concerned we don't have enough people that know how to talk to an expert and value that right now. And so just back to that kind of discussion on, I think the clarity you provide in the service allows a clear value to be calculated and evaluated off of. And then understanding some of the requirements, even on our end, that would be necessary to really leverage that value. And I think it's something we can possibly get to, but I would currently, I think our use of this would be excessive. Yeah.
But it's a good point.
We need 30 hours a week right now. And at 30 hours a week, we go into your unlimited models, which are up to 500,000, a much different price point than talking to an expert for 3 hours a week, which my dream would be to get to that.
Yeah, we
in
get
the
like
next
3 of
year.
a week. I mean, certainly it's not meant to be an AMS. It's not an AMS at all. But I think part of it too, in terms of managing it, Kelly, I may let you talk to it. I know Ken, you got a question as well. That the CSM that's assigned helps with some of that process and navigation, right? Making sure that you're getting the value and using the services the right way or optimally for your environment. But yeah, I mean, three of those cases a week, you gotta initiate them, and that's part of a dashboard and everything else that you can do it through. But it's the 3 a week, and then to Kelly's point, it has a decent amount of service per event. I think it's 3 hours per event, right, Kelly?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and the CSM is definitely there to ensure the team knows how to, there's a whole kickoff call where we talk through processes for how the team navigates to community to submit these requests. And it's fairly simple to do once we have that initial kickoff call. I know there was.
Sorry, you have a question.
Yeah, so I mean, regardless of whether or not the model is gone with for the customer support perspective, the way I see the most value being attained in the short term is the advanced courses for our team members of the actual pro certifications. Ultimately, that's what's going to train up our functional experts to know how to use that respective consultant as optimally as we can. And it is also going to teach them the most on how to configure the system to get as much of an expert as they could be. And from there, certainly that package is going to give some of those advanced courses, but I think us as a team needs to consider what we want to be training up our teams on and who is going to be retaining that knowledge in order to have them start being exposed to that knowledge sooner rather than when this is picked up, or if this is just going to be more facilitated for a few team members, or if we're going to be going on a larger scale training effort.
That's a good point, Ken. Something, and I'll make sure to connect with Peter on this, because something that our Workday education team can do for you guys, this is regardless of if you own WSP or not, but if you need support from our training experts on specific people at your company or even roles at your company and what training they should take to get to that level, they can provide you with like a customized training plan for that person or those people. It's as simple as opening up a case, and I can have, Peter and I can talk offline about making sure you guys know how to do that. But to your point, Ken, there are components of Workday success plans that there is training that is a part of getting people pro certified, and the actual pro certification itself is something you would not have to pay for, but there are certain courses that fall outside of the WSP bucket of services that might be a part of the training that your team would have to take to get to that point.
I think there would be more immediate value in considering an education package outside the WSP, because the models we looked at in there would not provide, it only provided a certain limit of courses per year, which we would exceed. So maybe we can explore what that would look like and evaluate the value on maybe a customized training package. I would see as more of something that could boost us to this future state, perhaps.
Yeah, and then we also, I mean, I don't know whether we should talk about learn on demand as a component.
Yeah, I don't have any additional slides on that, but that was something I worked through with Ken and Adam.
That's unlimited.
Yeah, the learn on demand libraries.
The learn on demand libraries are unlimited, that you would have access across the organization to, which is a pretty significant library as well. So.
They are maybe it would still help maybe to talk to a learning person, because they are significant and they are vast. And what we're looking to say is, okay, can we put together a curriculum that will get these people the education and the quality of knowledge? Some of those are just passive training modules. There's no really way to test proficiency or understand learning as we transition through these phases. Understanding those key milestones are important to me, because they help me have data to say, yeah, there's something materially changing here. So that's why I guess I would want to explore more, those on-demand ones. Is there worth considerations of bringing in a trainer to train 10 people as opposed to, I don't know what the options are, but I think getting more clarity there and seeing if there's a model where there is value in the short term is what I would like to explore, because I realize it's a need, but I did not see necessarily that can be conducive to our volume with the WSP model that was being talked about before.
So I've reached out over the last couple of months, and I've done an assessment on training that's been taken. What the actual opportunities are for enhanced learning. And the consistent messaging I'm getting is the formal classroom training wasn't as beneficial and helpful. I think it's like all of us, right? When we're on the ground and we're experiencing issues and challenges. Through the stabilization, it's new stuff all the time. I'm sure Ken can expand on that, but I don't think we have clarity of, hey, here's a consolidated list of exactly where we're at. Our teams are very small. So like payroll specifically has a couple folks, really two entirely. So bringing in a resource to actually train them up rather than just more knowledge transfer sessions probably wouldn't be as beneficial. But I think we have an opportunity to really dig into some of those continued gaps in understanding now that we're getting through stabilization, and some of those, new issues have been addressed and learned on the job. But perhaps I can work with you on what would be most beneficial. The training itself, the training courses, though, consistently, the feedback has been it wasn't as valuable once they got on the ground and once they were in production.
I will say those training courses we took substantially before we should have, from like actually using the system. So I felt like a lot of that knowledge was lost on our teams. And a lot of that knowledge was fundamental knowledge of the system for functional use. It's not technical configuration of the system, which is where those advanced courses kind of come into play to be able to make our individual team members experts of their respective areas, rather than needing to go to a consultant for how do I configure an open enrollment. You were taught how to configure an open enrollment. Check your notes. You can go do it now. So I think it makes them a whole lot less reliant on consultants, and it makes the model a whole lot more sustainable for once we get them to that level of adequacy.
I think there's, it's just about timing, and all these things are good things, and training can be diverse. I think we also need to set I think at a basic level, we need to set an expectation. Are our business leads expected to become a Workday pro? And if they are, what is the curriculum we're putting them on to do that? We have now put the hands of very expensive technology in people who might not even be certified to use it. And what is our expectation of them? Because I think we need to be clear on the priority to them, because if that's not a priority to them, it won't get done. And if we are to really leverage the system and own it, we have to have our teams own it. And we have to support them in that process. I'm not sure there's really another way around that piece. And so maybe we need even circle, like we can have the discussion about the different training options, how to curtail curriculum to an expectation that we would set for the business leads.
And Peter, I can work with you after the call. There is some really good information on Community that walks through the different pro certifications that we have available and the courses that go into becoming pro certified. So you guys at least have that information to start looking at internally to say, you know, some people have done most of these courses. And to the point that's been made already, like the Learn on Demand training is unlimited and it's part of Workday Success Plans. And it, for some of the pro certification, it could be the missing course or two that a person needs to take the pro exam and become certified. And that exam fee is also waived as a part of WSP. So maybe doing some of that evaluation could help you to determine if the education in WSP is sufficient, or as we've also been talking about, maybe there is more training, more in-depth training that falls outside of WSP that needs to be taken care of first.
Yeah, I can certainly work with you after the fact, Kelly, and we can dig into it with the team on some of the training components, what's going to be most helpful. And,
yeah, of course.
And I appreciate it. I know we're a little bit over time as far as where we kind of thought we'd stop off at for lunch here. I guess any questions or comments from the Rogers team in person or virtual here?
I mean, I'm interested in the training and exactly what Adam was talking about. You know, I have a couple of folks who are interested in getting, you know, more that pro certification.
Yeah, Paul, you can feel free to chime in here. I'm wondering as a follow-up if we've basically scratched the surface on WSP, and there's a much more deep dive that we can do on the components. And like you said, Adam, it's understanding like from a timing perspective and what is full detail, like what's included for training and the Aspen expert sessions versus like if you were to go the route of kind of like a la carte for training. I don't know if maybe that makes sense as a follow-up to.
I mean, I think of it this way. We have a lot of elementary school students when it comes to Workday. So they don't even know what questions to ask right now. So, yeah,
we can certainly, I mean, it's not that long. I mean, I wish I had it in front of me right now to show you, but there's a lot of value components, but we can certainly, those like the education and the levels that I think supports.
I think many people have been working on this too. You know, Trisha's been evaluating it, Ken's been evaluating it. It sounds like other business leaders, maybe we just need to really pull together and even set our expectation, because with our expectation, we can right size those numbers. If we expect our business leads to be certified, we need 3 people to do that. If we're expecting everyone on the team or some of the analysts too, then we need 10 licenses, and this one provides X amount of courses, and just kind of align internally. But I think getting the guidance on those different options and customization models will allow us to empower our teams to thrive in a system and to hopefully one day soon work to all the fancy dashboards and things like that we saw.
That's
during this presentation.
But
to be honest, it can't get there without that team to support it, and our people are going to be key in that. And really, we need to, I think, connect with them and understand how we can support or guide them through that.
Well, again, I mean, you guys are really only a few months into post live, so it's pretty basically. So I think y'all are, again, not completely out of the realm of what would happen. Matter of fact, some folks have more challenges. So our goal was to get you to enhance and optimize the state as soon as possible. And like I said, I mean, y'all obviously have a lot of folks in place that you're invested in, but also just knowing what I know about customers, this is I'd say a very cost-effective path to help ensure some of that success from at least from the Workday standpoint, we're, Peter and myself and the rest of the team are helpful, but having that extra level of Workday attention and focus, it's the only thing. And we've tried to make this cost effective as possible. So.
I mean, it was really designed to kind of teach our customers how to fish as opposed to going to consulting and buying a fish from the market. I mean, and it's, again, there's like a 30-minute overview. Like I'm sure Peter's got access to it. We can send over to you where it's like what it is and getting started. I probably share that with y'all. That would be helpful. I'm gonna let y'all eat lunch, but if there is interest, I mean, I have a couple slides I can walk through Accounting Center if people want to know what it is. If not,
Mark, why don't we do that while we got the team here just real quickly? I think that'd be valuable. Like I said, it's down the road, but I thought based on what Chris had said about one of the key challenges with the net revenue, I think it may be interesting for him to see that.
Yeah, awesome. Do you guys have the slides?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to run the rest.
Yeah, no,
Can you give us 2 minutes, Mark? We got a couple folks who want to take a quick break, but they do want to hear it.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. We can hang out.
Okay.
I'll drink my coffee. You guys eat your lunch.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves about how, let's see, topic is how well your bracket is doing.
Terrible.
Before I leave, since you mentioned that, my bracket is doing fantastic this year. I'm in first place in my bracket, so I'm gonna brag on myself. I went to Marquette University, and so I'm a big Golden Eagles fan, and crossing my fingers and my toes that they continue to move on this year. But I made all the safe picks this year in my bracket, and it's paid off so far. Last year, not so much, but this year, yeah.
Congratulations. I went to undergrad at Indiana University, so thus hating Kentucky. So I picked Kentucky to go out in the first round of every year, regardless of
And it worked this year. Yeah, you were right. That's great.
every once in a while, I'm right.
Kentucky's pretty good.
Yeah.
Kentucky's pretty good going out the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm also Marquette grad. So.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son's girlfriend's going to Indiana from Atlanta.
The number 3 business school in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Oh,
that's right.
I've got to drop. I'm
I've
gonna go.
I know.
I've got to prep for another call, so I'm gonna head out. Good seeing everybody. Take
Thank you,
care.
Bill.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop as well, but it was nice to meet you guys, and I'll be in touch with Peter. So if you need any, additional customer success support, I'm here to help. But have a great day, you guys.
Thanks, Kelly.
Really good. It's a lot of meat.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a great sandwich shop.
Yeah, cool. So last night was what's that place called? ID?
ID?
Name of the restaurant called ID.
Yes.
Where you staying?
That was, well,
Oh, you're staying at the Delphi.
no, that's where we went to dinner. We're staying at the area last week.
Do either of you want a mini soda?
No, I might have a lot.
Actually, I might get a mini soda. Where are they?
We're at, did you see where Abby is? Just kind of straight to the left. Okay, thanks. Got a little curves there.
Can you bring me one back?
Yes, we'll go.
If they have it, if they don't.
There's Diet Coke, Mountain Dew, Coke Zero.
Anybody else?
Good, thank you.
I was here last summer. I was in town for Buddy's concert in hockey. I just realized that when I got here, I played over at over here. I just played over there.
We just redid it in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Nice.
I got destroyed out there.
I didn't bring my gloves.
I was out there last July. But yeah, that was a beautiful course right on the lake there. It's tough.
You have to talk to Neil and get him to take you out of Augusta.
I know. Yeah, I'm kind of learning the ropes on all that. I wanna. Also, I don't know if you guys are into golf or anything like that, but. Really, get some posts out to those around.
Here you go.
Oh, thanks.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I kind of lost interest. I was like, I'm a Georgia guy, so we never had basketball, but my son's at Auburn. And I was trying to live vicariously until they got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. Patrick Phoenix can bully.
Yeah. I never can understand it. We have like 18 from the SEC that always go to the tournament in Georgia. I haven't done anything. Like 15.
I don't know what's going on.
Mark, you back? We'll spend a couple minutes on it, but I'll.
Sorry, no, I was on mute.
No problem. Yeah, I was about to give the preface on Accounting Center. It's been around a couple of years. It's an extension of Prism that we're leveraging, but about 200 customers have it. And we're just scratching the surface in healthcare, but we see huge use case for it. That I think it's going to probably explode this year. Mark, I'll let you kind of talk about what it does.
Yeah, no, it's kind of compounds on the challenges we're seeing in finance as a whole. Is you have about a 75% delta in people retiring with accounting degrees versus people coming out of college with accounting degrees, which gives us a significant challenge with employing enough accountants. Ironically, AI and ML and technology is in the right spot because you are now looking at, I mean, a lot of our customers now go from 2 weeks to close the books to 8 days to 3 days to some of them. And again, that's all driven by AI and ML. In healthcare specifically, especially on the non-acute side, like behavioral health and some of the other non-acute organizations like rehab services and stuff, the margins are so tight that organizations are either acquiring or being acquired. But if you're going to go into that acquisition mode, you have to understand the profitability at every location, and you really need to crunch the numbers, and you need to crunch them today, like not at the end of every month or at the end of every quarter. So what Accounting Center does, and I'll share my screen here.
You need to probably get them to share.
Let me see. Are you seeing my email probably right now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Can you see the slides now?
No, still the email.
Okay. Let me educate myself on sharing my screen with
Teams.
with Teams quick. Although Peter, don't you have these slides at the end of your deck?
Oh, yeah, if it's the same stuff, I wasn't sure if you're sharing the same stuff. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you want to do that, so I don't fumble around here.
Yeah, not a problem.
But essentially what Accounting Center is it's bringing your third-party data into the Workday platform without having to have your team massage the data for 3 days or more to get it into your books. So how it works is we pull in that Cerner data. It gets ingested into Workday with Prism. And obviously within all analytics tools, it comes in as very raw data, which you still have to spend a lot of time massaging cleaning up. What's different is that we have this accounting engine sitting on top of Prism, which takes the data and converts it into detailed journal entries, which then pushes it into the GL and summarized journals. So for a lot of organizations, they spend several days, if not full weeks, trying to pull this third-party data into the platform. And that is, I mean, essentially the use case for it is.
So how is
overall,
this
but
different than the custom integration we had built to bring the Cerner data into Workday?
It's a great
Does away
question.
with the integration.
Go to the next slide, Peter.
Sorry, 1 second here, Mark.
It's all right. You don't get to eat, buddy. Sorry.
Is that what you're looking for?
That it is. So good question, typical question. So what an integration does, it just brings in the data at a summarized level. And it's really not designed for a high volume of data. Like that's what the integration does, and that's typically managed.
Somebody was pointed out earlier.
With Prism and just Prism with financials, they're still in data, but again, it's wrong. Yeah, so just massaging the data and the time you have to do it can be cumbersome. And then Accounting Center, this is again, it's something that's typically owned by our finance organizations within the team, just because especially IT in healthcare space is already overwhelmed with plenty of things to do overall. So that's really the difference between kind of the three different offerings. And then you go to the next slide, Peter. Again, just high level, like what it does for you. It just creates efficiency. So it just takes a lot of that manual automation of work when you're processing a lot of data, bringing the data into the platform. Gives your business better control of it because it's controlled by the finance team. And then again, it's that drillability into the Workday data. Having everything in one spot. It just kind of exemplifies that by pulling that other data into the system so that you're not bouncing around with data warehousing and other analytics tools overall. Go ahead, Peter. Next slide there. And these are basically the use cases. You already described the one kind of with Cerner, but these are the main use cases where we designed it as we became more mature in the healthcare space, as Paul alluded to early on. Like we've grown so much so fast in healthcare because of the small margins. People needed the information in one place, and only Workday does that. And with our investment in healthcare and our success, we continue to invest in the product, and we choose how to invest in the product based on what our customers are telling us. So a large percentage of the enhancements that you'll see in those biannual updates are coming from customers making a statement or a complaint like, hey, this should be way easier. Let's do it. And then you take enough customers making that same statement or complaint, and we listen and we deliver. So I guess stopping at this particular point for like from the use case perspective, obviously these are the top 3 or 4 are probably the most likely for your business, but would love to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, that would be. This is the way it was. This is very different than the way I was given a very brief introduction to what that might
I
Yeah,
mean, from my end, the understanding the details, let's say our AMR has capabilities and transaction level detail today.
Yeah.
How do we, what are the problems that we have today? Where are the gaps in those problems, identifying those sources of them to really understand how that might be, I think, incorporated. I think a large gap right now is claims data. And claims data is pretty standard and pretty regularly formatted. And there's a desire for people in finance to have the level of information coming back on the claims data because it shows actual payment, actual amounts. And I could see that as being a pretty straightforward use case that might apply. I'm a little concerned about adjusting any revenue quite yet until we understand what the problem is with the accounting right now. And really kind of looking until we can rule out all those things. I'm really afraid of adjusting things in that flow outside of the issue that's identified without knowing wholly where that's coming from. But claims data seems like maybe something that would come to mind and been a request. I don't know, Chris, if you want to explore that
Peter,
more, I'm
could you
happy
get
to
to the last
look into
slide?
it.
Mark? I'll just say, go back to the last slide with all, there you go, the use cases. It's easier to look at. No, the slide before that one even. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, we have need for all that.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think the one that is just not contingent on a variety of other things would be ingesting claims data at this point. The other ones might need more evaluation and understanding before there would be a reasonable opportunity to pursue.
Yeah, I understand.
I can certainly share a microsite which has a path to, I think there's like a 50-minute demo, there's a 12-minute demo, there's a 50-minute demo. Some use cases in there just to kind of take a look at it. And again, like when you're bringing in that much third-party data, a lot of it's around the use case and configuring. So once you kind of get your head around it, we'll bring in our solution consultant like Lauren, and we'll dig in a little bit further and then give you a very custom demo to what.
Yeah, we do the kind of, do a full discovery on, you know, like, especially if you've got multiple use cases across this, then do some discovery, and then we tailor a presentation to all that. But I was actually thinking, Mark, one of your wonderful microsites may be a good idea with a couple of to get to the group, the flavors of Accounting Center, maybe even include financial planning. When I know we've got a couple of good demos there that they can put in the microsite. We didn't really talk about that much today.
But I've done a pretty in-depth demo on adaptive planning.
Okay. And then I think Bill touched on it too today. The other part of that, particularly for healthcare, is the workforce planning side of it as well.
That was really, really expensive to implement.
It is not cheap to implement. I would say it's from we're more on the subscription side. It's
the subscription's not the
yeah,
problem.
it's not bad. It's deployment. I will say
it's $750,000.
Well, we can do way better than that. I will say, yeah, because y'all were using KPMG, but there are that is one product because it's so prevalent. There are a lot of more boutique players that do it much more reasonably. I know a good amount of expertise with it. It's basically because there's 6,500 customers on it. It's got its own ecosystem of partners that can deploy. But again, at a much more cost-effective rate than of course $1 million. That's a lot.
Yeah, KPMG is one of the more expensive ones for sure.
Of course they are. Yeah,
I will.
I mean, is ACC necessary to ingest foreign data and visualize it, or it's not a requirement?
No, we can bring. No, it's not necessary. So you can.
Okay.
You can
So
make
in theory, like if you have claims information, it's on standard 835, 837. These are all pretty standard format that you could theoretically ingest and report on.
Yes, where Accounting Center, again, you have the integration option. You have Prism where it just brings in the raw data, which there's 1,000 Prism use cases for not just finance, but in HR as well. Accounting Center is we are taking that data and we're transforming it to look, I mean, to be a journal entry, to be in the GL, because it's that gap that takes organizations a long time to process that information. And there's a lot of human error to it, and it's not real time. And there's just when your business is moving fast, it's important to know that sooner than later. And I mean, some organizations, they've got full FTEs, if, you know, just ingesting that data and massaging that data to get it to the executive teams, which is
So,
expensive.
yeah, I mean, so do we. I mean, this is our month, this is, you know, a good portion of our month-end process.
Yeah.
As Mark was saying earlier, I mean, there aren't many accountants in the talent pool anymore.
Yeah, and as we drop that off, it's.
Well, being an accountant, I say good.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, that means
Apparently, a
all
lot
the
of baby
accountants-
boomers chose accounting and they're all retiring.
You just call me a baby.
I did, no, the ones that are retiring. No, they were about the same age.
And folks, I'm sorry, but I do have a 12 o'clock call that I have to hop on. So I will talk to Peter and make sure I button up some follow-up, get that microsite out to you for this stuff.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I encourage you guys to talk about the.
Because I have some interest in this. This is not the way it was presented the first time. Not to take anything away from that, but you know.
It's a complicated product. And that's why we have financial specialists for healthcare like myself, because I mean, I got a finance background and I've been doing ERP sales for 20 years, but like, I mean, I had to watch this. I mean, I went through lots of trainings just to understand it at this level. And it's a lot to bite off. And when you're going through an evaluation to upgrade your ERP, just the basic ERP, like it's a phase 2 type of piece, and it can muddy the waters quite a bit.
Yeah, well, whatever y'all asked why you didn't look at it before.
No. I said, yeah, definitely get back to us because I have interest in this.
Yeah.
I'm getting a different flavor for it than I did the first time it was presented to me. So.
Yeah, well, and again, I will also say.
I don't. You don't have to. I mean, it's fine.
It's just where we are in the journey. I mean, it's still it's about to hit I think a fairly explosive level within healthcare. Again, it was back when y'all were evaluating. I was just gonna say relatively new. Probably we've matured I'd say the explanation of what it does also a little bit more. We've got more use cases around it. That's all.
Yeah, if it could be like an advanced tool for integration. I mean, that's because the integration we wrote is apparently not working. And that's not the fault of the people or Workday. I mean, quite frankly, the stuff in Cerner is really kind of muddy.
Yeah.
And if we had an advanced tool that could pick that apart and bring it over, that would be super, super helpful.
Yeah. Again,
I do have to go, y'all. We'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, that's just a big driver. We'll definitely, I don't know if y'all talk about follow up, but we'll get you the microsite. You guys want to see it. Certainly get one of our healthcare financial experts to do a discovery and the demo of it for your use cases.
That'd be awesome.
And, we're hoping that, like, you can imagine, right? The ideal is getting a little bit further along so that as we sell it now as a core, make it part of a core deployment. So you're not building integration to the EHR as part of your initial deployment. Right now, we're kind of going back with customers, but we're certainly on the front end hoping to get it to the point where it's like, you're going to financials. Accounting Center is kind of a automatic piece of it.
Yeah.
And again, it leverages the Prism component too, which is our analytics engine for it. So
I see a lot of really good value in this stuff. I mean, that's a one part of our month-end close process. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, it's driving to more and more of a compressed process. The more you can make real time in your processes.
We still haven't closed January yet, so I'm not there.
Yeah. Well, I think we didn't really touch on it too. I think whatever else we can be doing to help. I don't know if we looked at these services that. I know you got a bunch of consultants working, which is great too, but if there's specific projects or anything we need to have looked at, I don't know, but it's just something we looked at.
We've briefly talked about it, and I shared like some collateral on it, but like we haven't had like a expert assist.
That's more of a kind of a project-based bucket of hours, like, hey, I don't know how to, my reports are all messed up.
Yeah.
Here's 20 hours and we'll bring in subject matter experts to fix your reports. But it's not a, it's a defined project.
Yeah,
And I think,
and that's kind of what we're doing right now with our consultants.
Right. And so y'all may, it probably sounds like y'all are still doing that, so.
I think the functional reviews like with WSP help with that, but like Adam said, it sounds like you might need a little bit more than the 2 functional reviews per year, so that could kind of fill as a gap.
So you could fill a gap. You could put the most pressing one on there. But, I'd say my last plug on the WSP front is if I'm we have ultimately are responsible for you guys as a customer. It's in our best interest. We want you to have the best tools to be able to do it. I've got tons of the customers that do really well are invested in it because it's just.
I think there's a definite point in time where we migrate to that solution. Like Adam said, we need to evaluate where that tipping point is, where we're going to get away from, multiple consultants. We're on our bill for 40 hours a week. Get away from that. And get more.
Well, it can be complementary. I know it's an investment. We do have it pretty favorably priced. I don't know what we gave it. I don't remember what it was. Like 95.
Yeah, 98, 96, I think was, so I know, I think Annette might have floated you some pricing last year, and basically how it's priced is it's a percentage of your spend, and your spend has increased since Annette had offered that pricing, but I still wanted to be aggressive on that and try to.
We've got an incentive that's on right now, so.
Yeah, if you want to send me some new pricing on it.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get as aggressive as we can. There's a lighter,
Tell David he still owes me. Tell him.
Hey,
Tell him he still owes me the last time we played golf.
Yeah, well, we got another couple of notches on the learning deal. So yeah,
that was perfect.
So I'll talk. We'll get together. But I'd love to just because I want you guys to be successful. I mean, I'd really like it to be in place. I think that there's a lighter flavor, which is that we just came out for mid-market. It's called Essentials. It doesn't give you the same volume and it doesn't give you the dedicated CSM, but we're doing that with a lot of our mid-market. But for you all, where you all are, I would much prefer, we've got almost the exact same price for the Accelerate one that gives you a name CSM and all those asking experts per week for almost the same price. So
yeah, I think Essentials was at like 86,000 and was able to, I mean, we still have to go through approvals, but I was able to get Accelerate down to the 96,000, which, so that's kind of the thing with it is it's people and services. So like there is a floor to it, which that's where we're at.
Yeah. I was gonna say, they used all their toolkits and learning stuff?
Like the learn on demand.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure. I'd have to maybe check with Kelly on that.
The only other thing that we can look at to lower the price of it is if you still have unused, if y'all bought learn on demand toolkit or a toolkit.
We don't. We've used them all.
Okay. God.
Stacy,
Yeah,
I know.
that's just one where we do apply it because a lot of people buy the learn on demand 10 seats and then we credit that and then you get unlimited learn on demand and the adoption toolkit comes as part of the product.
What do we use ours for, Tricia?
Through the implementation. So at the beginning of the implementation, we get this very robust workbook of suggested learning and training that each resource should take by the different phases. So that was kind of our guidelines. I'm really excited to hear, I was pinging Adam earlier about this, but I'm really excited to see what your suggested list is on this, certification because, and compare it to this workbook that it's the same workbook that I've seen from all the partners. So it's something I think Workday delivered. I'm sure you guys know what it is, but it is by this phase of the project. I see you shaking your head, Eric, because I was pressing pretty hard and actually the partner really presses me to ensure that the team is trained up through the various stages of the project. So that's what we used all of our training credits are on, and the on-demand training.
I was looking for it the other day, actually, because I wanted to try to figure out what the wording things were, and I know it's in the workbook, so.
So I could resend that to you. It's great. Stacy, I think I sent that to you too when we had the resource requested. There's a ton that actually are free. Training courses to get a new resource, better visibility and training. But yeah, we've exceeded the allotment early on when we decided on how many credits. I shouldn't say we, but the previous leader. It was tight, but we also had a lot of resistance from the team because they were just, it was an aggressive timeline. So a lot of pushback from even taking the training. And then once they did, that feedback I gave you was like, well, this isn't even helpful. I do think absolutely we need to train up our folks as soon as possible, but.
Yeah, so one thing,
Thanks,
one thing we might do, and Tricia, you'd very be good to see it, is show you what the success plan like. It's basically on the customer community piece where like you have your dashboard that lets you sign up. It shows you the entire library of everything you have access to, helps people access that. It keeps track of how many Ask an Expert you're using per week. And so like your CSM will work with you. It's like, are you getting value out of this or not value out of it? We could even also look at, I mean, it typically goes with the term of the agreement, but we could even look at a shorter term on it. If you wanted to try, well, we don't love to do it, but if one did,
Yeah,
we could
okay.
maybe look at that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the whole gambit.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys carving out the time today.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
for
know,
taking the time.
yeah.
anytime any of this it's always valuable, especially where you are just kind of coming off. Have to jump into a whole new set of projects, so that's exciting. All good products too. I think, customers that have been deploying HCM over the last several years, help journeys, Pecan are all, and talent optimization are all, kind of nice enhancements to have.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited to get those.
Yeah. And then we got that, I was just thinking about stuff coming up. We do have that intelligent finance tour coming up
in June.
in June.
Yeah, we just got notifications on it, so.
Get you the dates for that too. It's basically an AI focused finance and planning, one day deal we're having in Chicago, New York, Atlanta.
Yeah, I think Mark and I
I don't think we have that in
Chicago.
But you're only,
Yeah, Chicago's close.
but yeah, I always think about Nashville being close to Atlanta.
Oh, no, Nashville's close to Atlanta, but I mean, I come up here.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say,
multiple times a month. So.
you're up here, okay,
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Go to Chicago.
good, but that's,
Are you both out of Wisconsin or?
So I'm gonna bash
Okay.
I'm used to hear it, so.
but where are you, Tricia?
I'm in California.
Oh, wow, okay. So early in the day then.
Yeah, it's okay. I prefer early.
Good deal. Well, thanks for jumping on today.
Yeah.
It was helpful.
Of
Yep,
course.
all right.
All right.
Thanks, Tricia.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Have a great day.